Hi everyone, my name is Martina and in this video I'm going to present our recent paper titled Suppressing Non-Semantic Noise in Masked Image Modeling Representations. This work starts out with a simple observation. Recent vision models exhibit strong positional bias in their patch representations. Principal component analysis of the patch feature space reveals that top, bottom, and left-right position is encoded in high-rank components of many models. Similar observations have been made in previous work as well. For example, the authors of iBot note that the patch representations easily collapse during training to encode position only, and this problem persists in later work as well, such as DynoV2 and DynoV3, as well as Copy and IJEPA, which are not depicted here, but are included in our paper. What all these models have in common is that they were trained with some variation of a masked image modeling loss. And while these recent models have great performance, the positional information can act as a noise signal that buries semantic information on the actual patch contents. Compare this to models with other losses only, such as the first version of Dyno, and this behavior is not present. Motivated by this, we want to find a way to measure the amount of positional noise encoded by a model so we can quantify the problem and more directly compare. In fact, we can do one better. Positional noise can be generalized to non-semantic noise, which is just the components of the representation that are invariant to the semantic content in the input image. So instead of this, what we want is a way to measure non-semantic noise. And we found that we can do this by comparing the model's response to real input and noise input without semantic content. This is the basis for our proposed semantic invariance score. Semantic invariance refers to the property of a component yielding consistent responses even when the semantic content of local representations varies. In other words, a component is semantically invariant if it produces similar activations, regardless of whether the input carries meaningful semantic information. The semantic invariance score compares the representations of real images to those of synthetically generated noise images, which are generated by a mixture of pink noise, modulated white noise, and random low-frequency gradient fields to simulate a natural spatial frequency spectrum. A component gets a high semantic invariance score if the activations of real images are similar to the activations of noise images, and a low score if the activations of real images and noise images are distinct. Now back to the models we looked at in the first slide. The semantic invariance score confirms that models trained with a masked image modeling objective, MIM for short, encode more non-semantic noise compared to the baselines without MIM objectives. And when inspecting the most semantically invariant components of each model, we see that these are indeed the same components we saw were encoding positional noise before. Looking at the semantic invariance score per principal component, we see that most components have a baseline score that is less than a threshold, which sits around 0.75. It is only the top few components that encode non-semantic noise for most models. To suppress non-semantic noise in patch representations, we introduce SOAP, Semantically Orthogonal Artifact Projection. It uses the semantic invariance score to identify and weight the components to suppress using a Gram-Schmidt-based projection. The process of SOAP is simple. It only requires estimating the principal components of the model's patch representation space and computing the semantic invariance scores for the components by comparing a small dataset of real images to generated synthetic images. It requires no training and can be attached as an external module to any pre-trained vision transformer backbone. The result is a patch representation with less positional bias, which leads to increased performance in zero-shot downstream tasks, such as segmentation. We investigate the effect of applying SOAP to patch representations of various models by evaluating on different zero-shot downstream tasks. These are the main results for zero-shot salient segmentation using the token cut method on the ECSSD benchmark. We see that SOAP gives a significant boost in performance for all models that were trained with MIM objectives. For example, for copy, the mean intersection over union increases from 66.1 to 78.1. More results on other datasets and downstream tasks like semantic segmentation using k-nearest neighbors are included in our paper. So what can we conclude? We discovered that strong principal components exhibit high levels of non-semantic noise, and that this feature is pervasive in MIM models, while nearly non-existent in other models. Further, non-semantic noise is captured in a few high-ranking components, and suppressing them would SOAP improve zero-shot performance. So of course, for more details on our method, you can read our paper, or you can visit the paper's homepage by scanning this QR code. And thank you so much for watching our video.